This is one of those stories that sounds completely made up. It's about a 14-year-old kid, an immigrant who shows up in a new country with absolutely nothing, who then spots an opportunity in something everyone else is literally throwing in the trash. And this is the story of how that kid, Samuel Zamuri, built a billion-dollar empire from rejected fruit.
So we're going to dive into how one kid's simple observation at a super chaotic American port, how that one moment didn't just change his life, but ended up shaping the future of an entire continent. Seriously.
All right, so let's set the scene. Our story kicks off way back in 1877 in this tiny, poor village in Russia. A boy named Samuel Zamuri is born into a life that was, a real struggle. But he had this dream of something much, much bigger.
When Sam was only 10 years old, his father passed away, and that just threw the family into a crisis. The family farm, it just wasn't cutting it. And so at the incredible age of just 14, he makes this life-altering decision to cross the ocean all by himself, looking for a better shot at life. And when he lands, he lands in a world that is totally alien to him. He has no money, no friends, no connections, and he can't speak a single word of English. All he has is a little scrap of paper with his uncle's address on it and this just unbreakable will to make it no matter what.
So to get by, he starts working all these odd jobs, sweeping floors, making deliveries, anything he could find. And doing this, he develops this really crucial skill, almost like a superpower, born out of just trying to survive. He becomes incredibly observant. He starts to see things that other people just walk right past.
Eventually, he finds himself drawn to the super busy ports in Alabama, and that's where he first sees it, the giant of the industry, the United Fruit Company. He's just mesmerized watching them unload thousands and thousands of bananas by hand from these huge ships. It's an incredible operation. But as he's watching all this chaos, he spots something, a detail in their process that everyone else is missing. See, the workers are sorting the bananas into 3 piles. You've got the premium green ones that get shipped all over the country. Then you've got the yellow ones, which are sold locally for a bit cheaper. And then there's a 3rd pile. Spotted overripe bananas. We're talking about 15% of every single shipment that were just being thrown away, just tossed out like garbage. Now, to everyone else, this was just trash. But to Sam, this was a huge, massive opportunity hiding in plain sight. A total system failure. So he decides to risk literally everything he has, his entire life savings, $50, on one simple idea, that he could build a business out of the stuff a giant company considered waste. Okay. So, he does it. He buys the right bananas. But now, he has a gigantic problem. His entire inventory is perishable, right? His profit, his entire $50, depends completely on speed. He is literally in a race against the clock, trying to sell all this fruit before it goes bad on this painfully slow train ride. And this train, it was a complete nightmare. It would stop for hours at a time for what felt like no reason. Loading new cargo, waiting for tracks to clear, a new driver. With every single delay, he's just watching his investment turn brown. He's losing money by the minute. So, his whole gamble, everything he owns, is literally about to rot away in a train car. He's got to be feeling desperate, right? But what he does next, well, it wasn't just clever. It was an absolute stroke of genius, and it was about to change his life forever. So here's the brilliant part. Instead of just waiting to find buyers when he got to a town, he decides to create the demand before he even arrives. He hops off the train, runs to a telegraph office, and starts blasting out messages to merchants in all the upcoming towns down the line. He's basically building a pop-up sales network on the fly.
And it worked. It was a massive success. At every single stop, there's a crowd of people already on the platform waiting for his cheap bananas. By the time that train pulls into its final station, he's sold every single one, and he's doubled his money. He proved the model worked.
And of course, Sam didn't just do this once. He repeated the process over and over and over, getting better, faster, and more efficient every time. So by 1903, he wasn't just some kid selling scraps anymore, he was a real disruptor. And he had definitely caught the attention of the United Fruit Company, and they were not happy about it. Yeah, the big guy was starting to feel the heat. So United Fruit started using all its power and influence to try and crush him. They'd intentionally delay his shipments, they cut off his supply of ripe bananas, and they even started flooding the market with their own cheap fruit just to kill his profit margins. It was a classic corporate takedown attempt. And what's so interesting is how totally different their business models were. You had United Fruit, the big, slow, established giant. They wanted to control everything and keep prices high. Sam's business was the complete opposite. It was lean, it was fast, and it was built on making money from his competitors' mistakes. He wasn't just selling bananas. He was basically hacking their system.
But Sam knew that to really survive this war, he couldn't just be the scrappy reseller forever. To truly compete with this giant, he had to evolve. He had to stop just exploiting their system and start building his own. He needed to control everything, from planting the seed to loading the ship.
So what does he do? In another incredibly bold move, he leaves the comfort of America, teams up with an investor, buys a whole shipping company, and moves to the jungles of Central America to build his own banana-growing operation from scratch.
And this, right here, was his secret weapon. See, unlike the corporate execs at United Fruit, sitting in their offices, reading reports, Sam was on the ground. He was literally in the fields with his men, clearing trails, planting seeds, working in that brutal heat. He understood the business from the soil up in a way they never could.
So as his jungle operation starts to take off, his ambition gets even bigger. But this leads to a huge fight with his business partner, and it sets the stage for what was probably the single riskiest, most audacious move of his entire life.
So Sam wants to go big, expand like crazy, but his partner is getting nervous about the risk. Sam gets frustrated with the hesitation and makes an insane decision. He goes to loan sharks, the underworld, and borrows a massive amount of money at a crippling 50% interest rate so he can buy out his partner and take total control. Just think about that. After the buyout, he's now the 90% owner of the whole company. He has bet everything he owns, plus a whole lot of money he doesn't, all on himself. And the funny part? The other 10% was still owned by his biggest rival, United Fruit. This was it. This was the make or break moment. Everything was on the line. He would either build a real empire that could challenge the giant, or he would be completely crushed by his own ambition and all that debt. The whole game was changing. And that's because this was no longer just about selling fruit. To protect this new empire he was building in the jungle, Samuel Zumare was about to enter a totally new and dangerous world, where his business ambitions would start to collide with the politics, the power, and even the governments of entire nations. His journey was about to get a whole lot more complicated.